Chapter 41, Almost, Again. The world felt different now. The city was the same busy streets, honking cars, the scent of roasted chestnuts from street vendors, but somehow, Jackson walked through it with lighter steps. His thoughts buzzed with each message he exchanged with the girl without a name. He didn't know her name. Not yet. But he knew her laugh through the way she typed, ha. He knew when she was tired her sentences softer, shorter. He knew when she was happy. Her words danced. They spoke every day now. Mostly through FM notes. Sometimes for hours. They hadn't asked for names. Or pictures. They were still hidden behind their usernames. And yet, he felt like she was the most real thing in his life. One afternoon, Kinley, Jackson's niece, tugged at his sleeve. "Uncle Jack, are you even listening? I said my bear has a fever." He blinked and crouched down. "Oh no, we better get him to the Teddy hospital immediately." She giggled as Jackson wrapped the bear in a scarf. Hannah would have loved this moment, he thought. She'd told him once in a message how much she missed her little cousins, how work had made her distant from family. He replied that same night. "Today I became a doctor for a bear. It had a very serious fever. My niece insisted I use glitter as medicine." Her reply came quickly. "That's the most effective kind. Scientific journals just haven't caught up yet." Another evening, Hannah passed the neighborhood mailbox she'd ridden to so many times. A soft drizzle painted the pavement silver. She held her umbrella a little tighter. Just then, a tall man passed her from the other side, hood up, hands in his coat pocket, walking fast. They didn't make eye contact. Didn't stop. Just two strangers passing in the rain. Neither realized how close they were. Later that night, at the boy who is listening, walked in the rain today. Passed by the mailbox. Funny how that little red box still makes me pause. Do you like ramen? There's this hidden spot downtown with the best miso ramen I've ever had. At the girl without a name. I do. And now I need ramen. See what you did. Best dish. At the boy who is listening. Tamago. Soft boiled egg, soy glazed, melts in your mouth. You'd love it. She didn't know that just 2 hours before, he had passed her on that same rainy sidewalk. Radio night. Chris was hosting a special live radio event, Letters in the Sky, with music, spoken word, and fan stories from anonymous writers. Hannah and Jackson both attended. Different entrances. Different sections. She sat in the balcony. He stood near the side curtain backstage. When the lights dimmed, a hush swept over the audience. A single spotlight fell on the mic stand. Chris stepped up and read a short passage. Two people. Never met. But they know each other better than anyone else does. They don't even know they're sitting under the same stars tonight. The crowd murmured. Hannah felt goosebumps on her arms. Somewhere in the dark, Jackson smiled. And the messages continued. Like clockwork. Invisible string pulling them closer. Until the moment they wouldn't miss each other. Until the moment, almost, would finally become now. Chapter 42, Echoes in the Spotlight. The stadium roared with excitement. Jackson stood backstage, breathing in the energy. This was his world, flashing lights, pulsing music, the thunder of thousands calling his name. But tonight, it felt heavier. Like there was something more he was supposed to find. He didn't know what, or who. All he knew was that ever since those letters started, something inside him had shifted. He was no longer just performing for the crowd. Somewhere out there someone was listening. The lights dimmed. A beat dropped. Jackson stepped onto the stage. The crowd erupted, but as he scanned the sea of glowing signs and swaying hands, his gaze lingered for a moment far in the back, beneath the upper balcony. A blur. A shadow. A girl with a hood pulled over her head. He couldn't explain why, but he paused. Just for a beat. Then the music took over. He sang harder. Rawr. Not like a polished idol, but like a boy sending out a message and hoping the right heart heard it. Meanwhile, in the crowd, Hannah stood motionless. She hadn't even planned on coming. Her friend had surprised her with a spare ticket, dragging her out after a rough week. She hadn't expected much. And yet, the moment he sang, she felt something crack open. There was a quiet pain in his voice, like he was trying to reach someone he couldn't name. It made her heart ache. She didn't scream like the others. Didn't wave her phone or chant his name. She just stood there, watching, listening, caught in the strange ache of almost knowing someone she'd never met. The last song ended. He looked out again, his eyes swept the crowd and, for a second, landed in her direction. Her breath hitched. But then he bowed, the lights dimmed, and the moment was gone. They both left the venue separately that night, he through the staff exit, her through the crowded street. Two strangers, almost crossing paths, never knowing they were each other's favorite unknown. Chapter 43, Under the Same Sky. The next morning, the city yawned under a soft drizzle. The kind of rain that didn't soak but whispered. Hannah stood at the corner coffee shop, waiting for her takeout, her umbrella dripping quietly onto the tiled floor. She absent-mindedly scrolled through FM notes. There it was. At The Boy Who Is Listening had posted again. I was in a concert last night. But it felt like I was with you. Did you feel it too? Sometimes I wonder how close we are without even knowing. Were you there? Her breath caught. She had been there. She had felt it. But how could she say that without revealing too much? Her fingers hovered over the screen. At the girl with the name. I didn't plan to be there. But something told me to stay. And now I keep wondering, if you saw me. Or if I imagined the pull in the music. She hit send just as her order was called. Far across the city, Jackson sipped his black coffee, bleary-eyed from the late night. Chris's voice buzzed through his earpiece, half joking about the soulful idol act he pulled during the concert. Jackson chuckled, brushing him off. But when the notification pinged, his expression softened. At the girl with the name had replied. And just like that, the fog of exhaustion lifted. He reread her message twice. He wanted to know her. Not just in letters. In reality. But how? That afternoon, fate gave them another nudge. Hannah was assigned to edit a short promotional script for a new music documentary. Something about artistry and lyrics. Her coworker poked her head in. You'll love this. Jackson Walker's team just submitted the base material. You're on the review. Her heart skipped. Jackson Walker. He was the singer from last night. Was it just a coincidence? Probably. Right. She shook off the thought and opened the file. It was just work. She'd approach it like any other project. Meanwhile, Jackson was told he'd have to sit down with a publishing firm to finalize narration edits. Something to keep the image clean, his manager had said. Semicolon. He didn't care much. Until he saw the name of the editor assigned to the script. Hannah Dawson. It meant nothing to him. Just a name. But something about it felt oddly familiar. Chapter 44, The First Hello. It was raining again. Not the gentle kind, but a stubborn drizzle that soaked you before you could open your umbrella. Hannah grumbled under her breath, clutching her bag as she dashed across the pavement toward the publishing house's front doors. Late, wet, cold, and she had a surprise editorial meeting with what was his name again? Jackson something. The guy from the concert. She didn't even look up as she burst into the lobby, shaking rain from her sleeves. But the moment she rounded the corner to the conference room, she collided with someone. Her bag slipped. A manuscript spilled onto the floor. Papers fluttered everywhere. I'm so sorry, she gasped, bending down. No, it's my fault, came a low voice. Calm, steady, slightly amused. She froze. That voice. She looked up, and there he was. Black hair still damp from the rain, hoodie half zipped, a few pages in his hand, one of them her annotated lyrics from last night. His eyes met hers. Warm, piercing, curious. Jackson blinked slowly. You're the new editor. Hannah stood, cheeks flushed. Hannah Dawson. He offered a hand. I'm Jackson Walker. Of course he was. The Jackson. The same one from the concert. Also the boy who listens the late night chats. But she didn't realize it yet. And neither did he. They shook hands, and something passed between them, an unspoken pull. A mysterious current. Recognition without reason. Chemistry without context. Hannah forced a smile. I guess we're working together now. Jackson nodded, holding her gaze a second longer than necessary. Looks like it. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, the air shifted. Their first meeting had finally happened. And neither of them had any idea they already knew each other's hearts. Chapter 45, Familiar Strangers. For the first 10 minutes of their meeting, Hannah barely heard a word. Jackson Walker, in person, was nothing like she'd imagined. He was quieter, more observant. Every now and then, he'd tilt his head, like he was trying to figure her out, like something about her tugged at the edge of a memory he couldn't place. And Hannah couldn't shake the feeling she'd heard his voice somewhere before. Not just from the concert. Somewhere more intimate, like a whisper in the dark. "So, these are the lyrics?" Jackson finally asked, flipping through the papers she'd rewritten. "Yeah," she said, clearing her throat. "The original draft had a good core, but I thought it could use a little more vulnerability." His eyes lifted slowly to hers. "You like vulnerability?" She nodded, caught off guard by how serious his tone was. "Don't you?" He smiled faintly. "Only when it's honest." A pause. The air thickened. Then Jackson leaned back in his chair. "There's a line in this song, 'The silence between us is louder than a storm.' That's yours." "Yeah." She bit her lip. "Too much." He shook his head. "No. That line. It hit me." Hannah blinked, unsure why his words warmed her cheeks. For the next hour, they worked through the lyrics line by line. She explained her choices. He shared his intent. Somewhere in the middle of it, the awkwardness faded. They laughed once, argued gently over a word choice. Even shared their favorite rainy day snacks, hers, cinnamon rolls, his, black coffee and toast. And yet, neither mentioned FM notes. Chapter 46, Coffee, Rain, and Accidental Care. The next morning dawned gray and heavy, rain tapping steadily against windows. The office was quieter than usual. Most people were working from home due to the storm. But Hannah was already there, umbrella dripping near the coat stand, her hair damp at the edges and cheeks pink from the cold. Jackson arrived late, hoodie over his head, looking half drenched and half asleep. He dropped into the seat across from her with a groan. "Your idea of a coffee run still stand?" he muttered. Hannah glanced up. "You didn't stop for one on the way." "I did. Forgot to drink it. Left it on the counter at home." He closed his eyes dramatically. "Tragic." She snorted. "Come on. I know a place 2 blocks away that's still open." "Rain's insane though. Afraid of getting wet, Mr. Rockstar." He cracked one eye open, smirking. "Lead the way, boss." The cafe was tucked into a narrow alley, a quiet local place with frosted windows and handwritten signs. The rain hadn't let up, but the awning outside kept them relatively dry as they ducked under it. Inside, it smelled like cinnamon, espresso, and freshly baked muffins. Jackson stood at the counter, eyeing the menu. "What's your usual?" "Hot vanilla latte," she said. He ordered 2. One for the lyrics and one for the rain. She blinked. "You say things like that often." He looked amused. "Only when I'm talking to someone who gets it." They sat by the window, watching the rain blur the world outside. For a few moments, it felt oddly quiet, like their own little corner was suspended outside time. "Do you ever think about writing for yourself?" he asked. "Like letters, like songs." She sipped her latte. "Only when I think no one's listening." He paused, then said, "Someone always is." They looked at each other but neither pushed further. 2 days later, Hannah didn't show up at the office. Jackson noticed immediately. By noon, he texted their shared work chat, "Everything okay with the lyrics file?" No response. A minute later, his phone pinged. A separate message. "Hannah, sorry. Caught a bug. Heads pounding. Will send update by tonight." He stared at the message for a long time before typing. "Jackson, don't worry about updates. Just rest. Also send your address. I'll drop off soup." She replied with a single laughing emoji and a "no need." He sent his next message anyway. "Jackson, too late. Already ordering it." She didn't argue again. That evening, she opened her door to find a paper bag with warm containers of soup, ginger tea, and a note written in hurried, slightly messy handwriting. "Rain's still bad. Soup's still hot. Lyrics can wait. J." She didn't reply immediately, just held the note, heart tight in her chest. The soup tasted ordinary, but the care behind it wasn't. Chapter 47, Fever and Familiar Words. The day after their coffee run, Jackson didn't show up to the studio. At first, Hannah thought he might just be late. But when noon passed with no messages and their shared documents still untouched, she frowned. Jackson wasn't the type to vanish without a sarcastic excuse. She hesitated, then sent a message. "Hannah, hey, just checking in. All okay?" No reply. She waited another hour. Still nothing. Then finally her phone buzzed. Jackson. Not dead. Just mildly melting. Fever. Sleep. Sorry. That was it. No emojis. No sarcastic jokes. No, rockstar down, commentary. He must be feeling really bad. That evening, Hannah stood in front of Jackson's apartment building, holding a grocery bag filled with essentials, porridge, oranges, fever patches, electrolyte drinks, and cough drops. She told herself she was just returning the favor. But the truth was, she was worried. He opened the door in sweats, hoodie half-zipped, eyes glassy and hair a chaotic mess. Didn't expect you, he mumbled, voice rough and low. I brought the flu defense squad, she said, holding up the bag. And no, you're not allowed to argue. You fed me soup. He blinked. Fine, fair enough. She walked in, set the bag down, and noticed the cluttered table, half-drunk water, tissues, a cold mug of tea. He looked pale, a bit miserable, and very unlike the confident idol everyone else saw. Did you even eat today? She asked gently. He shook his head. Hannah heated up porridge and set it in front of him. You don't need to finish it. Just eat a little. Jackson obeyed, quiet and slow. Between bites, he murmured, you ever write something you didn't mean to say aloud? She looked at him, like a confession disguised as song. He glanced at her, fever-dazed but focused. Yeah. All the time. He smiled faintly and muttered, thought so. Later that night, as he dozed off on the couch, Hannah adjusted the blanket over him. His phone buzzed nearby with a notification from FM Notes, but she didn't glance at the screen. She didn't need to. She didn't know he was the one who had written to her. And he didn't know she was the one he'd been writing to. But in that quiet space between soup and silence, warmth and fever, something intangible passed between them. An almost understanding. An almost truth. Chapter 48, Shifts and Shadows. Jackson returned to the studio 2 days later, pale but upright, hoodie still on and sunglasses tucked into the collar of his shirt. The staff greeted him with relief, and his manager muttered something about overworking idols under his breath. Hannah was already there, typing on her laptop. She looked up when he walked in. You look like a recovering vampire, she said dryly. Thanks, he rasped, feeling like one too. But her smile lingered longer than it should have. And Jackson, in his half-recovered state, tapped the laptop button by button. They got back to work: lyrics, music composition, theme alignment for the next single. Their conversations shifted smoothly between creative and casual. He liked working with her. She wasn't afraid to challenge his ideas or question a rhyme. She wasn't dazzled by his fame. And she never treated him like a fragile idol. He appreciated that. Later that afternoon. Chapter 49, Words We Never Said Out Loud. In real life, Jackson and Hannah had grown close. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a whirlwind. It was comfortable. They shared quiet lunches after meetings. Sometimes they worked in the same room in silence, occasionally breaking it with laughter over some shared joke only the two of them would get. Jackson didn't even notice when he started texting her memes at midnight. Hannah didn't realize when she began saving the snacks he liked in her drawer, just in case he drops by. They didn't talk about it. But they trusted each other now. She'd seen him at his worst, sick, stressed, overwhelmed. And he'd stayed late to help her finish lyrics when her deadline nearly crushed her. They had each other's backs. But online, through FM Notes, things were different. They were vulnerable there, soft and raw in ways neither dared to be in real life. That night, after another long work session, Hannah logged into FM Notes laying on her bed. Her heart already beating a little faster, like it always did when she saw his reply. At the boy who is listening. Today, someone laughed at one of my dumbest jokes. Not the fake kind. The real kind, where they forget to cover their mouth. I think that moment meant more to me than any award. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a while before she responded. At the girl with the name. Those are the people who matter most. The ones who laugh like that. The ones who make silence feel like peace, not punishment. There was a pause. A typing bubble. Then it disappeared. Then it returned. At the boy who is listening. Would it be weird if I said I think I like you? Not just the way your words sound. But the way you see the world. Hannah stared at the message. Her pulse quickened. A nervous smile played at her lips. She replied. At the girl with the name. It is weird, but it's mutual. And for the first time in a long while, both of them lay in bed, smiling at the ceiling. Not because of a song. Or a job well done. But because somewhere out there, someone got them. They didn't know that this someone was just a few steps away in real life. That the person they were slowly falling for online, was already sitting across from them at lunch. Chapter 50, Invisible Threads. It was a rainy Friday. The kind of soft drizzle that coated windows in silver and made the city blur like a half-finished painting. Jackson sat on the office couch beside Hannah, their laptops open, lyrics half-finished. The heater hummed gently, and the warm smell of instant coffee filled the room. She had her knees tucked under, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands. I like the rain, Hannah murmured suddenly, eyes still on the screen. Jackson glanced sideways. Why? It reminds me that you can feel things without shouting about them. He didn't say anything at first. Just nodded. Later, when she had gone home, he opened FM notes again. At the boy who is listening. It rained today. Someone told me something beautiful about the rain, and suddenly I couldn't stop thinking about how quiet moments mean the most when you share them with the right person. At the girl with the name. Then maybe we're sharing the same moment right now, even if we don't know each other's names. In her room, Hannah smiled faintly. Lately, it was getting harder to separate the two people in her life, the boy she was growing to depend on at work, and the boy in the notes who was quietly wrapping himself around her heart. One made her laugh in conference rooms. The other made her cry with messages sent at 2 a.m. She clicked into the draft folder and wrote something, without sending it yet. Draft, not sent. If I met you in real life, would I know it's you? Would I recognize the voice I've only read in silence? Meanwhile, Jackson wrote back. At the boy who is listening. Is it crazy that I sometimes wonder if we've already met? Passed each other on the street. Shared a silence in the same room. At the girl with the name. Maybe we have. But maybe that's what makes this beautiful. We're strangers who feel seen. No name needed. At work the next day, Hannah handed Jackson a copy of the finalized lyrics. Their fingers brushed briefly. Just a second. Nothing was said, but something sparked. That night, their FM notes messages continued, more open, more vulnerable, more them. And still neither of them knew. The one they were writing to was sitting just across the table. Chapter 51, Half-Told Hearts. The city was winding down when Hannah typed her next message into FM notes. A cup of mint tea sat beside her, barely touched. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard longer than usual. There was something dangerous about how natural this had become. And something terrifying about how much she wanted this stranger to be real. At the girl with the name. Have you ever met someone in real life who makes you feel safe without trying? Like their presence is a quiet place you didn't know you needed. Jackson read her message at midnight. He had just returned from a late shoot. Exhausted, hair damp from a sudden downpour, he sat on his bed still in makeup reading her words over and over. Safe. That was exactly what she felt like to him too. Even though he didn't know her name. Even though he maybe already did. At the boy who is listening. Yes. And I don't know if it's them I'm drawn to, or the version of myself I get to be when I'm with them. At work, Jackson found himself stealing glances at Hannah when she wasn't looking. The way she tugged her sleeves when she was thinking. The way she hummed under her breath while reviewing lyrics. The way she paused at windows on rainy days like she was waiting for someone. She never noticed. Or maybe she did and just pretended not to. That night, she responded. At the girl with the name. Do you think it's possible to fall for someone through words alone? To know someone without ever seeing their face? Jackson sat up straighter. He thought of her voice the way it lingered in his memory, familiar and unfamiliar all at once. He thought of the girl at the concert. The hoodie. The silence. And he typed slowly. At the boy who is listening. If words are where we hide our truest selves, then maybe that's the most honest way to fall for someone. Neither knew how deep they'd already fallen. Neither guessed how close they already were. In real life, they laughed. In notes, they loved. And in between the two, their hearts quietly waited for truth, for timing, for the day the names would no longer be needed. Chapter 52, The Edge of a Name. The moon was unusually bright that night, spilling silver across Hannah's desk as she typed her next message in FM notes. Her fingers trembled, not because she was afraid, because she wasn't. And that scared her more. How did something that started as comfort begin to feel like love? She pressed her lips together and typed slowly, heart first. At the girl with the name. I think I'm afraid. Not of falling, but of finally knowing who you are, and realizing I already do. Jackson sat in the recording studio, surrounded by dim lights and quiet. Everyone had gone home hours ago, but he couldn't leave, not yet. Not until he replied. He read her words 5 times. Then 10. Then he closed his eyes and whispered out loud, me too. He typed. At the boy who is listening. What if I told you, there are moments I look at someone and wonder, are you her? But I'm scared to find out. Because maybe once I know, the magic ends. Or maybe, it begins. Hannah exhaled sharply. Her chest tightened. Why did it feel like he was right next to her? She typed. Paused. Deleted. Typed again. At the girl with the name. Would it ruin everything if I said, I think I already like you? She stared at the blinking cursor. Then erased it. And replaced it with something safer. At the girl with the name. Funny how we keep dancing near the edge of a name. But never quite fall. Jackson read it in silence. He didn't type anything back. He just whispered, don't fall yet. I'm not ready to catch you. Not like this. In another part of the city, Hannah whispered the same words to the air, not yet. But soon. Chapter 53, The Space Between Words. Rain tapped lightly against the studio windows as the city blurred in shades of gray. Hannah sat on the edge of the couch, notebook in hand, legs tucked beneath her. Jackson was beside her, mug in hand, hoodie loose, a tired kind of warmth in his eyes. They had spent hours fine-tuning lyrics for his next project. But somewhere between verses and harmonies, the air had shifted. The words they were writing weren't just about music anymore. They were about something else. Something neither of them wanted to name. I think, Jackson said slowly, turning to her, this song, it's not just about longing. It's about waiting. Like 2 people walking in the same city, always missing each other by a minute. Hannah's pen stilled. She looked at him. Sounds familiar, she said softly, her voice laced with something more. He smiled faintly. You ever feel that? All the time, she replied. Like the person you're supposed to meet is just one turn away. Jackson's eyes flickered to her for a second longer than they should have. But he looked away. So did she. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable. It was loud with things unsaid. I like writing with you, he said at last, his voice a little rough. Hannah blinked. I like working with you too. He let out a breathy laugh. That's not what I meant. She turned to him then, heart drumming. Then what did you mean? Jackson stared down at his cup. Nothing. Just that, I trust you. And that doesn't happen often. Hannah smiled. Her eyes softened. Me too. For a second, he looked like he might say something more. Something big. Something that would pull down every invisible wall between them. But the door creaked open. Mia stepped inside, holding coffees. Hey, you two. Thought you could use some reinforcements. And just like that, the moment was gone. They smiled. They laughed. They got back to work. But the space between them still hummed with everything they didn't say. Later that night on FM Notes. At the girl with the name. Is it possible to be close to someone, and still feel like you're miles away? At the boy who is listening. All the time. Maybe we're both just waiting for the right silence to say the wrong thing. Chapter 54, A Proposal and a Pulse. The kitchen buzzed with voices as Hannah entered, fresh from a quiet evening in her room. She paused when she saw her mother and aunt sitting at the table with smiles that could only mean one thing. Hannah, her mother said, gesturing to the seat across from her. Sit down, dear. There's something we want to talk about. She sat slowly, fingers tightening around her phone. We received a call from Mrs. Brown this morning. Remember Daniel? He's back in town. Hannah blinked. Daniel. As in, Daniel Brown. Aunt Brown's son. Her aunt smiled. Yes. You have met him few times when you were kids. He's become a well-known architect. He is very polite. Handsome. You used to be good friends back then. His family asked if we'd consider a meeting between the you two. Hannah's breath caught. A marriage proposal. Out of nowhere. She offered a polite smile, her heart nowhere near settled. Can I think about it? Of course, her mother said gently. There's no pressure. Just meet him for lunch. It's not like you're engaged. Yet. Later that night, she lay curled on her bed, hugging her pillow, her heart pounding with unspoken conflict. It wasn't that Daniel was a bad guy. It was just. There was someone else. Someone she'd never met. Someone who knew her better than anyone else ever had. She opened FM Notes with trembling fingers. FM Notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 10:12 p.m. Can I ask you something strange? If someone nice walked into your life, someone your family thought was perfect for you, would you still choose the unknown? The voice behind the screen. Reply from @theboywhoislistening. 10:15 p.m. Every time. I'd choose the one who saw me when no one else did. I'd choose the one whose words feel like home. FM Notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 10:20 p.m. What if choosing that meant risking everything? Even never finding out who they are? Reply from @theboywhoislistening. 10:22 p.m. I'd still wait. Because some connections are worth the risk. Even if it's just hope. I'll wait. She didn't realize she was crying until her fingers dampened the edge of her phone. Outside her door, her mother was still chatting with her aunt about wedding arrangements. But in here within the quiet blue glow of FM Notes, her heart had already made its choice. Chapter 55, Coffee, Conversations, and Confusion. The cafe was warm and filled with soft music. Sunlight spilled across polished tables, and the scent of coffee beans clung to the air like comfort. Hannah arrived right on time, her nerves tucked beneath a simple pastel dress. She spotted him immediately. Daniel Brown. Tall, clean-cut, easy smile. He stood the moment he saw her, pulling out the chair like a gentleman. Hannah, right? She nodded, returning his smile. Daniel, it's been years. Over a decade, I think. He chuckled. You still drink hot chocolate with too much whipped cream. Her eyes widened. You remember that? Of course, he said with a grin. I also remember you refused to share your marshmallows unless bribed with sour candy. They both laughed, and just like that, the awkwardness softened. The conversation flowed childhood memories, mutual acquaintances, silly old stories. Daniel was warm, respectful, and listened more than he spoke. I heard you work in entertainment company. He asked over lunch. Yeah, mostly editing, some writing, she said. And you're still sketching buildings on napkins. Guilty. He flashed a sheepish grin. I guess we both stuck to what we loved. They finished lunch with smiles, not romance. As they stood to leave, Daniel gently said, no pressure, Hannah. I know how these things can feel. But I'm genuinely glad we met again. She appreciated that no rushing, no assumptions. Me too, Daniel. That night, she curled up in bed and opened FM Notes. Her heart always led her here. FM Notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 9:46 p.m. I had lunch with someone today. He was kind, smart, funny. But when I spoke to him, I kept wishing I was talking to you. Reply from @theboywhoislistening. 9:50 p.m. I've never felt luckier to be just a voice behind a screen. But if he's good to you, don't push him away just for me. FM Notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 9:52 p.m. But it's not just a voice. It's the only voice that ever made me feel understood. How do I explain that? Outside, rain gently tapped the windows. Inside, two hearts kept whispering across the quiet glow of anonymous messages. Still strangers. Still closer than anyone else had ever been. Chapter 56, The Unsent Answer. The next morning dawned bright, but Hannah felt anything but light. Sleep had been fleeting. The warmth of @theboywhoislistening's reply still lingered in her chest. She didn't want to hurt anyone, especially not someone like Daniel. But how could she say yes to a future when her heart was tethered to a voice in the dark? She stared at her phone, her thumbs hovering over the keyboard. Then finally, with courage drawn from the quiet comfort of 1,000 anonymous words, she typed. FM Notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 7:45 a.m. I've been wondering something. Do you like me? FM notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 7:55 a.m. I think I'm falling for you. FM notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 8:02 a.m. If you feel the same. If your heart says you know me the way I know you, then meet me today, at the corner coffee shop on Garden Lane. 2 p.m. I'll wait by the window. She hesitated, reread it twice, then hit send. She felt like she was holding her breath all day. Every knock at the door, every phone buzz, every glance at the clock made her heart skip. She even told her mom she needed air, dodging the marriage proposal with Daniel for now. I'm not ready yet, she whispered, and her mother blessedly didn't push. At 2 p.m., Hannah sat in the coffee shop, dressed simply, hair loosely tied, her heart beating faster than the raindrops sliding down the window. The bell above the door chimed a few times. Students, couples, a man with a golden retriever. Not him. 2:15 p.m. She waited. 2:30 p.m. Still nothing. By 3 p.m., her fingers clenched around her mug. What if he saw the message and chose not to come? What if she'd misunderstood everything? By 3:45 p.m. What if he hadn't read her message? By 4:25 p.m. The staff at the cafe knew her by now. She kept checking the door every time the bell chimed. By 5:15 p.m. She tried to smile and sipped her untouched cold latte. By 6:35 p.m. The crowd thinned. She stayed seated. By 7:45 p.m. A small hope died quietly inside her chest. She stood, heart sinking like a stone. 1,000 possibilities chased through her mind, but one truth echoed louder than the rest. He hadn't come. Somewhere across town, Jackson groaned as he searched the rehearsal studio frantically. No signal. No texts. He rubbed the back of his neck. Where the hell is my phone? His manager, Tyler, walked in with 2 takeaway coffees. Still looking for it? Jackson nodded, pacing. I had it this morning. Then I left it on the piano when I went to the producer's office. Came back gone. Tyler handed him a coffee. It's just a phone. You'll get a new one. Jackson's eyes were distant. What if it wasn't just a phone? Later that night, Hannah stared at her bedroom ceiling, the streetlight casting pale shadows through the blinds. She'd waited, and waited, but he didn't come. She didn't know if that meant he didn't care. Or if, maybe he never even saw the message. She didn't delete it. She didn't write again either. She just whispered into the darkness, like a prayer. Maybe tomorrow. Chapter 57, Silence Between the Lines. The next morning, Jackson stood in the studio office, rubbing his temple as the manager explained that no one had turned in a lost phone. I can't believe I was careless enough to lose it, he muttered under his breath. Daniel looked up from his tablet. Still thinking about it. Daniel was his best friend since high school days. Jackson Walker and Daniel Brown grew up in the same neighborhood, attending the same private school since middle grade. Though their personalities were starkly different, Jackson being the quiet, artistic dreamer with a hidden emotional depth, and Daniel the outgoing, charming guy who could win over any room, they balanced each other perfectly. In high school, Daniel was the one who pulled Jackson out of his shell, and Jackson was the one who kept Daniel grounded. Despite Jackson's rise to fame in the music world and Daniel's path into business and publishing, they remained close through thick and thin. They often joked that Daniel was Jackson's unofficial manager and emotional damage control officer. Jackson gave a half laugh, but his eyes were far away. There were things on that phone I can't replace. Messages. Their entire FM notes thread was on that device. Every shared thought, every quiet emotion typed out between 2 strangers who somehow weren't strangers anymore. He hadn't received any new messages since the night before. He figured she might have been busy. But now, he didn't know. A strange sense of dread began creeping in. 2 days later, back at home, Hannah stayed quiet through breakfast. Her mom noticed. Are you okay, sweetheart? I'm fine, Hannah lied with a small smile. Just didn't sleep well. Daniel's mother called, her aunt chimed in. They're hoping you'll reconsider on their proposal. No pressure. Just to meet him and know each other. Hannah nodded absently. Maybe. Her mind was still in that coffee shop. Still at the window, scanning every shadow. She hadn't sent another message. Pride. Fear. She didn't know. Maybe both. Meanwhile, Daniel was at the architecture site, speaking with a client when his phone buzzed. A message from his mother. Lunch with the Dawsons today at 1. Be there. And wear that blue shirt I got you. He sighed and smiled, shaking his head. Classic mom. He didn't mind. The lunch with her was quite good that day. He remembered Hannah faintly from his childhood, quiet, kind, always scribbling stories in a notebook as a kid. But now she was a lyricist, someone involved in music, and from what he'd heard from Jackson, she was talented and thoughtful. He respected that. He hadn't thought about her that way before, but maybe he could. But he didn't know that while he was considering possibility, Hannah's heart had already chosen impossibility. Later that day, Jackson sat on his couch, with his new phone. He begged Chris for 2 days before he could get access to his account through his new phone, and 2 days later Chris successfully retrieved all the data to this new phone. Thankfully, he was successful syncing it to his new phone. Relief washed over him as he logged into his account with the new ID password Chris gave him. New message at the girl with the name. Sent 3 days ago 7:55 a.m. He froze. As he clicked it open, the breath left his lungs. I've been wondering something. Do you like me? FM notes, message from at the girl with the name. 7:55 a.m. I think I'm falling for you. FM notes, message from at the girl with the name. 8:02 a.m. If you feel the same. If your heart says you know me the way I know you. Then meet me today, at the corner coffee shop on Garden Lane. 2 p.m. I'll wait by the window. Jackson's heart dropped. 3 days. He had missed it. She had waited. He was already grabbing his jacket. At the same time, Daniel arrived at Hannah's home with a polite smile and a bouquet of white lilies. Her mother beamed, calling Hannah down with a knowing tone. Hannah descended the stairs slowly, startled to see Daniel waiting there. Hi, he said softly. I hope this isn't too sudden. Hi, she replied, trying to smile. She wasn't expecting this today. She wasn't ready, not after what happened that day. Not after the silence. That evening, Jackson stood outside the coffee shop. The rain had stopped, but the seat by the window was empty now. He stood there, soaked with regret and late hope. Inside, he asked the staffs if they remember any girl waiting there. The waitress remembered her. Oh, that poor girl, she stayed for 5 hours that day. Was she waiting for you? She answered kindly. Yes, Jackson whispered, trying to hold his tears. FM notes, message from at the boy who is listening. 8:48 p.m. I'm so sorry. I never got your message. My phone was lost. I only got it tonight. Were you disappointed? I went to the cafe just now. I would have come. I swear, I would have run there. I still will if there's still a chance. Tell me I didn't ruin it. I'm sorry. Please give me a chance. Chapter 58, Confessions Between Friends. The rehearsal studio had emptied out for the night, leaving only the soft hum of equipment and the quiet clink of mugs. Jackson stood by the counter, brewing a late coffee, his mind elsewhere, still waiting for her message that hadn't come. He was so lost in thought he almost didn't hear the door open. Daniel walked in, casually dressed, with something unreadable in his expression. Didn't expect you here this late, Jackson said, offering a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Daniel took the offered mug with a grateful nod. Actually, I was hoping we could talk. Jackson gestured toward the couch in the corner. Shoot, he said softly. They sat in companionable silence for a few moments, the weight of unspoken thoughts filling the room. Finally, Daniel spoke. I met someone. Jackson raised a brow, teasing, oh. That was fast. Daniel gave a sheepish laugh and rubbed the back of his neck. I think I want to give it a try. For the first time that day, Jackson smiled genuinely. She's a nice girl. I hope you're both happy with the arrangement. Daniel's eyes lit up with quiet excitement. I know it sounds sudden, but man, she's incredible. Grounded, funny, thoughtful. You've probably already seen that side of her. Jackson gave a small nod, saying nothing. Daniel continued, lost in his own words. I don't even know when it happened, but I can't stop thinking about her. Jackson watched him quietly. All that in just one meeting. Daniel exhaled with a lopsided grin. I know, right? I didn't expect it either. At first, when Mom mentioned her, I wasn't interested at all. But then you met her, and after you talked about her, I got curious. And now, after meeting her, I really want to see her again. Every day, if I could. Jackson chuckled at his friend's excitement, even if a small ache settled in his chest. Daniel finally leaned back into the sofa, eyes bright. I'm going to try. Be upfront. Woo her properly. I know she might not be ready, but I want to give it a real shot. And I wanted to tell you first since you two are close now. Jackson took a sip of his tea, letting the steam blur his thoughts. Best of luck, man. Daniel grinned. Thanks, brother. Jackson smiled again, this time more gently, and watched as his best friend stood to leave, full of hope. Once Daniel was gone, Jackson leaned back against the couch, eyes drifting to his phone still lying quiet on the table. No message. Not yet. Chapter 59, I waited. The quiet in Jackson's apartment was a stark contrast to the storm swirling in his chest. He stared at his phone again, still no notifications. He regretted losing it that morning. He hadn't meant to go silent for 2 whole days, but Chris hadn't been able to recover the data quickly. And somehow, between rehearsals, shoots, and endless distractions, the time had slipped through his fingers. What he didn't know was that somewhere across the city, someone had been waiting for him all day. Meanwhile, at Hannah's house, she sat curled up by the window, knees tucked to her chest, phone resting in her lap. Outside, the sun had long dipped below the horizon, leaving the street bathed in dull amber from flickering lamp posts. The occasional car passed, and a neighbor's dog barked in the distance, but none of it touched her. She hadn't eaten dinner. Not really. Just moved food around on her plate, her thoughts consumed by him. She had thought the one who listened so closely to her silences might just feel the same way. But after waiting the entire day, he never came. Tears slid silently down her cheeks as memories of their time together flickered behind her closed eyes. Those quiet messages, that gentle voice, the warmth in every word. Hannah hadn't even turned on her phone all day. She couldn't bear to stare at a blank screen again. Couldn't bear the ache of hoping for a message that never arrived. Later that night, she lay in bed, turning restlessly under the covers. Sleep wouldn't come. Finally, with trembling fingers, she reached for her phone and hesitated, then switched it on. The screen flickered to life. A second later, his message came through. The screen lit up in the dark room, casting a soft glow on Hannah's face. FM notes, message from @theboy who is listening. 8:48 p.m. I'm so sorry. I never got your message. My phone was lost. I only got it tonight. Were you disappointed? I went to the cafe just now. I would have come. I swear, I would have run there. I still will if there's still a chance. Tell me I didn't ruin it. I'm sorry. Please give me a chance. Her fingers trembled as she read it, over and over. She blinked back fresh tears, her heart aching with a confusing mix of relief and pain. Part of her wanted to reply immediately. Another part just needed a little more time. She placed the phone back on her chest, eyes staring at the ceiling as the weight in her chest began to shift. Not disappear, just shift. He hadn't forgotten. He hadn't left. He was late, but not gone. And somehow, that mattered. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard, then finally moved. FM notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 9:09 p.m. I waited. And I think I'll wait again. Just, don't make me wait forever. She hit send, her eyes falling shut just as the first real smile touched her lips in hours. Chapter 60, the message that broke the silence. Jackson was still curled up on his couch, the dim light of the living room the only thing keeping the dark at bay. The cold cup of coffee on the table sat forgotten like the rest of his day. He stared blankly at the screen, at the last message he'd sent. A part of him had expected silence. After all, 2 days had passed. What reason would she have to wait? But then, his phone lit up. FM notes, message from @thegirlwiththeudaname. 9:09 p.m. I waited. And I think I'll wait again. Just, don't make me wait forever. He froze. His heart thudded so hard it nearly hurt. He read the message once. Then again. Then one more time, slower, like if he blinked, the words might vanish. A single breath left his lips, one he hadn't realized he was holding in for hours. He whispered into the stillness, she waited. He didn't move for a second, as if afraid the moment might break if he shifted too fast. But then he was on his feet, pacing the room, running a hand through his hair, overwhelmed by a rush of emotions he couldn't name. She still wanted to try. Even after everything. Even after his silence. Jackson sat back down, thumb hovering over the screen as he tried to find the right words. Nothing felt big enough, real enough, worthy enough to hold what he was feeling. But maybe, honesty was enough. FM notes, message from @theboy who is listening. 9:12 p.m. I won't. Not again. I didn't think anyone would wait for me like that. But you did. And now, all I want is to be worth that wait. He hit send before he could overthink it, then leaned back, eyes glued to the screen, waiting just like she had. Across the city, Hannah stared at his reply, her lips slowly curling into a soft smile. This time, the silence between them didn't feel heavy. It felt like the pause before something new. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.